Praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to everybody that's here in the name of Jesus. Peace to everybody that's listening on the phone line and that's also watching on the internet. Peace to everybody that's honoring today as we conclude the Feast of Tabernacles. Today is the 8th day of the Feast of Tabernacles, also called the Feast of Ingathering. So we welcome everybody that's here and listening to us or watching us by way of technology. We mentioned this past Sabbath, we mentioned a lot of the people that is with us all the time that can't be here with us here, that's in other locations. We named a lot of them. So we're not going to go through that today, but we know that they're there and glad that they're there doing what the Lord wants them to do. Because it's a blessing, and I'm thankful to know what we know, to take time out to honor the Lord according to his plan. Because the majority of people don't know what we know right out the Bible. So I'm grateful to God to have some understanding and be doing his will, because when you get some understanding of this, it's crystal clear. So I'm real grateful for that, and everybody should be. But we're going to get into the lesson, because everything that God have you do has meaning, has significance. That's the type of God he is. The Bible says God is a God of wisdom. So he's not doing anything for no reason. That's where people should pay attention in this tradition that they following, because it don't have no meaning as it applies to God. That's what lets you know you worshiping a false God. But God told you everything he wanted you to do, including celebrate this festival, the Feast of Tabernacles, and he have you conclude it for a specific reason on the 8th day, instead of normally, like everything that God is showing you in the Bible, centers around 7. You got the weekly Sabbath on the 7th day. You have even the feast, the first feast of unleavened bread. It's a 7-day feast. Conclude on the 7th day. Even Pentecost, it takes 7 weeks to get to that, and then one more day. That's how you get to 50, which is what Pentecost means. And on and on and on. Like we celebrate the memorial of the blowing of the trumpet. Even this feast is in the 7th month. The memorial of the blowing of the trumpets kicked it off 3 weeks ago. And we know the Lord got 7 angels that's going to blow 7 trumpets. So everything is 7. And this used to kind of puzzle me sometimes, even after I was celebrating this feast. I still didn't quite get it why he went to 8 initially. But it don't matter. I knew it was important to do it. I did it anyway. But it used to puzzle me a little bit. Why did he go to 8 when everything is centered around 7? Because God is showing you something bigger than what we're dealing with all the time. Because we showed that the Feast of Tabernacles points to the gathering of God's people. God's people have been scattered to the 4 winds. We had a lesson dealing with that. And he is going to gather them from all over and set an heavenly kingdom up on this earth, centered around his people, starting with Israel and whoever else but believe the same teaching. Because God don't care what nation you are. He don't care how you look, what color you are. He wants you to follow his instructions. So, but he do start with Israel, and that's why it's all centered around. He brought Israel out of Egypt. That was the beginning. And he going to conclude bringing Israel back, gathering Israel from all over the world. That's what the Feast of Tabernacles is pointing to. We had lessons to show that. But then you say, well, why does he go to the 8th day? The 8th day has even a greater significance than just the physical gathering of Israel from all, and other people that believe from all over. It's taking you to a whole nother level. Because we know God complete things in 7. That's why even this feast, he said, feast 7 days and then on the 8th day. Feast 7 days and then on the 8th day. Because he want to show you after he conclude what he going to do in the end, he going to do something brand new. And it's going to last forever. But it's all centered around what we doing here. That's why it's amazing that people can't see. But I understand because Satan had to see the whole world. But it's still amazing when you got all this information in the Bible and we worshiping something totally outside the Bible. Walking around with a Bible and believing something else. That's amazing. That shows you how crafty Satan is. But then even worse than that, when you bring somebody the Bible and show them what's in the Bible, they think you crazy. Just like I know people that tell people about it who don't know nothing about it, tell people you taking off work today for the Feast of Tabernacles. They look at you like you crazy because that's speaking a foreign language. And it's in their Bible. They got a Bible. It ain't like Bibles are limited. The Bible is the best-selling book in the world, right? So they got a Bible, but they don't have a clue what's in it. They don't have a clue. So that's amazing, but they're going to find out about it because that's how type of God he is. He going to let everybody have a chance. That's his mercy right there. He going to let them have a chance to hear this. What we are dealing with, he going to give them a chance. And whether they take it or leave it, it's going to be up to them. But they are going to get a chance. And that's where we coming in at. That's why we're doing all this preaching. It's no accident or coincidence that God got us putting the word out here wholesale. And it's getting ready to get better and better. However you look at it. For some people, you might say worse and worse. Because we're going to be killing all the lies that's been told. But now, we're going to get into the 8th day of the Feast of Tabernacles, and we're going to have a little celebration. We winding down because after you done feasted 7 days, you shouldn't be, and most of the time, we're in the situation we're in, we can't even really feast 7 days like the Lord prescribed. But even when we do 2-3 days, people get tired. The Lord know how to party, boy. Can you imagine if God told you to go ahead and party for 7 days? He told you have a good time, eat what you want to eat, and then you're going to climax on the 8th day. And we done had it where we did it a few days ourselves, but by the time the 8th day come in, people be dragging in. Glad it's over with. They sure y'all don't know about partying. So basically, we winding down, so we ain't going to have no big whole lot of food here today, but we got something to eat because it is a celebration. And we're going to get into it, though. The title is The Last Day, That Great Day of the Feast. And that's what this day is. And that ain't nothing I made up. That's a direct quote out of the Holy Bible. That last day, that great day of the feast. And this is something that was said surrounding Jesus. So we're gonna go right to it. John, the 7th chapter. John, the 7th chapter. John 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 37, which is where the title of the lesson comes from. John 7 and 37. Okay, go ahead.
In the last day, that great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried, saying, If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. Okay, now this is what the title of the lesson is. This is what happened with Jesus. He said, in the last day, that great day of the feast. So this ain't nothing I made up. And see, you can't get around it. That's the first thing people need to realize. People that say they believe in Jesus and they believe in the New Testament, they want to do away with all these feasts that's in the Bible. They making God out to be a vain God. He just told you to do stuff that don't matter. But that's from Satan. Gonna have you to throw away everything in the Bible and make up your own stuff. And the things that God gave you is precious. He said everything he did was good in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. So shouldn't you realize that the holy days in the Bible are very good? But we're going to get rid of them. So here's in the New Testament, none other than Jesus is dealing with this. And then John, who
responsible for writing the book that we reading. He said, it said in the last day, he even made sure you understand how significant this is. It's the last day, but then he put in there, that's just giving you what day it is, right? But he put in there that great day of the feast. Mm-hmm. And we're going to let people minimize it to us nowadays. But again, that shows you how crafty Satan is. He has deceived the whole world. People ain't thinking about it. People going about their business today, right? Instead of honoring the God that created them. And that's why they don't understand his plan, because his plan centers around this right here. He gave you things to honor him for what he's about. And his plan is to benefit you in the end if you obey. So it said in the last day, that great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried. He cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. So Jesus is at this feast. And in the last day, he's still preaching at this feast, telling the people, look, they need to come to him. If you thirst. What do you mean thirst? We had a lesson dealing with how you born again. It starts with the water, right? You need the word of God. That's why we're reading it right now. But now this is where the lesson is. Title of the lesson is the last day, that great day of the feast. Keep your finger here. We're going to go to Acts, because we didn't see what feast it was yet. But we're going to go to Acts. I like to get to the New Testament quick, because you got so many New Testament Christians that think what we're doing here today is done away with. Don't matter. And they even got a timetable. They tell a lie that, see, when Jesus died, all that got nailed to the cross. You are nailed to the cross lie. But that's what they say. Well, here in Acts 18, Jesus had been dead and nailed to the cross and resurrected and went back to heaven, right? For years by this time in Acts 18. So let's see what the Apostle Paul was concerned with. Then we're going to go back to John 7 and get into it. 18 and 18. Acts 18 and 18. Go ahead.
And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren, and sailed thence into Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shown his hand in Centuria, for he had a vow.
So now Paul is traveling around as he always did, going around preaching to people. Couldn't travel like we travel. See, we can spread the gospel even quicker, because the Lord can sped things up in the last day. Don't you realize in the last 100 years, man then came from the Stone Age to modern technology. In the last 100 years. So that means, because man been on the earth about 6,000 years. So that means for 5,900 years, man was still in the Stone Age. Still, only transportation he had really was a horse. But the last 100 years, we done went technology crazy, right? But that's going to benefit everybody hearing the word, too. Because Paul didn't have it good like we get. We can fly across the world. And it took him months to get to place to place. But he was traveling, doing the same thing we doing, preaching the word. And he got to this place, and Ephesus, and he going to do something. Verse 19.
And he came to Ephesus and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews.
See, now he went into the synagogue, which was, everybody know that was on the Sabbath day. I had one Catholic priest told me one time, he was listening to me preach in person. And then he came up, and because he wanted to do away with the Sabbath day, because he wanted to say it changed, because that's where it came from, the Catholic Church. So he said, well, and I might have read this scripture and other scripture. He said, well, that's the only place he could go if he was going to preach to the people. He had to go to the synagogue. I said, no, he could have did what you did and set up shop on Sunday. That's what you done. Right. He didn't do that, though, did he? No. Paul kept dealing with the Lord's Sabbath day. See, that shows you can kill all these lies that people tell it. He going to use that excuse. Well, he just went there so he can preach to the people. Why you don't do it then? You should be like him. But you didn't set up shop on Sunday and changed everything. Paul didn't get the memo about that change, did he? And furthermore, God don't change. But anyway, that's a whole nother point. He preaching to these people in this place, in Ephesus, verse 20.
when they desired him to tarry longer time with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem.
Now wait a minute. They liked the preaching and wanted Paul to stay. Now you know it got to be something very important. You preaching, you trying to save souls. You trying to show people how to get salvation, and they want to keep listening, and you said, nah, I got to go. It must be important, right? But it said, why? He said, bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem. But what?
But I will return again unto you, if God will. And he sailed from Ephesus.
See, now we know what feast this is. Let's go back to John, but we know what feast this is. John 7. This is the Feast of Tabernacles. Even though it didn't say it, I know it. Because in the 20th chapter, he was keeping the next feast after Tabernacles, which is the beginning of the year. We're going to do after this one. Passover and unleavened bread. That's what he was doing the next as he traveled some more. That came around. Then right after that came Pentecost in Acts 20. So that's how we know that this is Tabernacles, that he just said, I must by all means keep this feast. But even if perhaps some kind of way we was wrong, we know it was one of the 3 feasts that's in the Bible, right? We know for sure it wasn't Christmas, right? We know for sure it wasn't Easter, right? We know for sure it wasn't Thanksgiving. It's what's in the Bible. But they kept them all. So now, how can you let somebody tell you the feast is done away with? Here Paul stopped preaching to observe this great feast, which is what we just read in John 7. But now we're going to take it from the top, because it just said that great day of the feast, which is what the title of the lesson is. Didn't say what feast. Let's see what it is. John 7:1 now, from the top. Go ahead.
After these things, Jesus walked in Galilee. But he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him.
Somebody need to tell somebody they didn't like Jesus. They was trying to kill him for telling the truth. What other reason could it be? He was doing nothing but good, healing people, casting out devils. It had to be something that made these religious hypocrites dislike Jesus, because he was killing all their lives, just like we doing, right off their Bible. See, these preachers been lying for years, and we can take the Bible and tear them up. They can't do nothing about it. And they're getting in trouble now. More and more they're getting in trouble, because people want to know what's in the Bible, and they start to question everything these preachers say, and the preachers don't like it. That's why they were trying to kill Jesus. That's why the more people start listening to us, they're going to be mad at us. But we don't care. They ain't got nothing to lose anyway. We could care less. We want to please God. Well, they hated Jesus. That's why it said they sought to kill him. Who sought to kill him? The religious factions. The religious people. They wanted to kill him. But now, he went through a thing with his brothers, because they started mocking him a little bit. But go ahead, verse 2. Let's see what time it was.
Now the Jews' Feast of Tabernacles was at hand.
Oh, now they call it the Jews. We know it's the Lord, but God did give it to Israel. He gave everything to the Jews. He gave thou shalt not kill to the Jews, right? But that's for everybody, isn't it? Right. So just because it say the Jews don't mean it's just for them. He spoke the commandments to all Israel, and it's for everybody that will hear. Because Gentiles and Hamites and other nations got to become spiritual Israel anyway. So this feast is for everybody, even though, yeah, that's what the people looked at it. You know, the other nations, they looked at it, they said that's what the Jews did, because that's the way it was. So he said, now, the Jews' Feast of Tabernacles. So that's what feast this is. The same feast we celebrating, we in good company, because Jesus himself kept it. Now skip down to verse 14. Go ahead.
Now about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught.
Now the midst of the feast, even though they was trying to kill him, he had to sneak up there, because he didn't want to catch him on the road by himself. And he didn't even go with his brothers, because he figured they might have snitched on him. Because they talking about, oh man, why you hiding out? Go on up to the feast. Come on, we on our way. You want to go with us? Why you? Because they knew he was hiding, because the people trying to kill him. So they trying to be funny. That's when he told him, look, it ain't my time yet. Your time, you better be careful. Your time is always. I put in a prayer on you, you'll be gone tomorrow. Keep messing with. But no, he basically ended up laying low until they left. Then he went up secretly. But he still got to this feast, even though they was trying to kill him. But once he got there, he knew they wasn't going to kill him in open in front of everybody. So he showed up and said, in the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught. He started teaching at this feast of what? Tabernacles, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, verse 15. Let's read that a little bit.
And the Jews marveled, saying, I know if this man led us, having never learned.
See, that's the thing that people always marvel at when the Lord sends somebody that's going to come along and tell the truth. They marvel at the fact that you didn't come the way they all came. See, the preachers of Jesus' day, see, in other words, what this means, Jesus didn't go to their seminary schools. He didn't go to their school of thought. He didn't go to none of that garbage. He got trained by the best. He got it directly from God. And that's the same way we got it. See, we didn't go, because you just learn a doctrine when you go to these schools. You learn the Baptist doctrine, which ain't necessarily in line with the Bible. You learn the Catholic doctrine if you want to study to be a Catholic priest. You learn the Methodist doctrine if you want to study to be a Methodist preacher. But see, Jesus didn't go for none of that. He got it from the Lord and told the truth. Same way with us. You got people that are actually with this. You know about me. They say, well, does he have a degree? No. Ain't went nowhere but to the school of the Bible. Well, that's what they worried about Jesus. They say they marvel, saying, how knoweth this man led us, having never learned? And Jesus told them, look, I got this from God himself. But now, skip down to verse 37. Go ahead.
In the last day, that great day of the feast.
See, so now we know what day it is, what feast it is. It's the same feast Paul was rushing to keep. It's the Feast of Tabernacles. Mm-hmm. And this day right here is the last day of it that we celebrating. Just like Jesus was. In the last day, that great, now this will show you how important it is. It's a great day. Because it's even giving you a bigger significance than the first 7 days. The first 7 days point to the physical gathering of Israel. The 8th day is taking you to a whole spiritual plane. Because in the end, that's what it's going to be. We're going to see it. In the last day, the great day of the feast, Jesus did what?
Jesus stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink.
So now, he said, if you thirsty, not physical water. Spiritual water, which is none other than the word. See, people getting thirsty in this world because it's a famine for the word. But they want to hear it now. That's why the preachers have to start. Even on TV, you see some of them trying to act like they teaching something sometime now. They ain't just going through their usual spiel. Why? Because they up against the wall, because they got to start answering some questions. Because people getting wiser. But now, go to Leviticus 23 where he laid it all out for us. But we see all those years later, brothers and sisters, it hadn't changed. Jesus himself honored what we honor here today. Because he went along with God's will. Paul himself, don't let nobody tell you got done away with in the New Testament. They are lying. Paul himself kept all the Lord's holy days, the feast days. He kept them all. They write in the New Testament, right in Acts, which people say they believe, but they really don't. But we're going to give them an earful of it to make sure. Leviticus 23, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 23 and verse 1, because this is where the Lord laid it all out. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath to rest.
Okay, so now the Lord told Moses this. We like to point out that Moses didn't make it up, so you can't attribute it to him. The Jews didn't make it up, so it don't belong to them, do it? It said the Lord told Moses to tell the people concerning his feast, the feast of the Lord, it said. He said, proclaim, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts, the Bible said. So now if you're going to honor the Lord, why wouldn't you keep his feast? Why would you honor another God by celebrating Christmas? Because that's what you're doing. He didn't give it to you. He told you in Jeremiah 10, don't get a tree and cut it down and decorate it. He told you that point blank, and we doing it unknowing that we honoring a false God. And he hate that. But he gave you plenty stuff to do. Look, if you focus on what God wants you to do, you won't have time for none of that other garbage. Because you got plenty of stuff to do that he gave you. And you will find it's a pleasure to please him because he's going to make it work. But now, he said you have holy convocations surrounding these feasts. Then he go into the weekly celebration that we honor him each week. Not the first day, Sunday. What he said, verse 3, read it.
6 days shall work be done. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
7th day, Sabbath of rest. Go ahead.
A holy convocation.
A holy convocation. Every 7th day, which we call Saturday. Look, all you got to do is look at the calendar. People say, oh, you can't figure it out. Look, you figure out how to get there on Sunday. Go ahead.
You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
It's not the Jews, is it? There's no Jewish Sabbath or Christian Sabbath. People just make up all kind of lies that's not biblical to try to make the issue fuzzy. But the Bible is clearing it up. He said the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord. Wherever you at, you can do this in all your dwellings. But we're not here for that today because today is the 4th day of the week. But we here today. It's a Sabbath though. We're here for another Sabbath. Skip down to verse 4. Go ahead and read verse 4. My fault.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season.
Now you're getting ready to run down the seasonal feasts. And we're going to get to the season we in. Skip down to verse 33 and read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the
Again, the Lord said all of this. Moses didn't come up with, Moses didn't go tell God, look, we need something, God. They bored. You need to give them something. He didn't do that. But God is omnipotent. God will give you something yesterday that's going to have great significance tomorrow. It might apply to something yesterday, but it's not just applying to that. It's applying way in the future. That's why the Bible say God called the end from the beginning. He know already. He God, right? That's what let me know this was the real God. I see all the stuff he said was going to happen, and it happened. That's why we know for sure, not guessing, not wondering. We know for sure how the world going to end. And we know we real close. We ain't like these other crazy people think it's going to happen next week or not even next. They talking about 2012. They going to find out. It ain't going to happen in 2012, not 2013, not 2014. We know it's some more time, but it ain't that much more time. Because certain signs got to be fulfilled. But somebody might say, well, it ain't going to happen. I might as well have a little fun, then I get back to God. Look, you can die 2011. You can be gone. That'll be the end of you. So you still want to serve the Lord, but you know by the signs that he gave you about when he going to show up. He ain't going to show up in the next 7 years. But I won't say it's more than 20 or 30 years. But anyway, go ahead. What verse you at? 33?
34.
Go ahead.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord.
See, unto the Lord. And notice he says 7 at first. But we here on the 8th day of Tabernacles. But he says 7 because you got to end something before you start something new. And 7 represent completion all over the Bible. He perfect things in 7. He going to perfect it in 7. And when you get through with the 7, it's perfected. When you get to the 8th, it's going to be brand new. That's why he's taking this to the 8th day. Because this is the last feast of the year. We go back and start over again. And they don't get old. They don't get tiresome. Because we know we doing what's on God's agenda that's pointing to something that's going to come to pass. So he said this 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. That's where we started last week. Go ahead, 35.
On the first day shall be a holy convocation.
Now, the feast start, and on the first day you kick it off with a holy gathering. We did that last Wednesday. Go ahead.
You shall do no servile work therein.
See, it's a Sabbath day, so you don't do no work except for what you have to do to cook and feast. You can do that. But we took off for our regular jobs last week and today because it's a Sabbath day. Go ahead.
7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation.
Now the offerings, we don't do that, but Jesus gonna reinstitute that when he comes, but they pointing to him. See, right now we know Jesus is the real offering. So we got an offering, we just accepted his offering. We ain't got to keep doing these offerings right now. Daniel 9, he says he's going to cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. Because once Jesus died, that's why the temple, the veil where they sprinkle the blood, is ripped in half from top to the bottom. So he caused them to cease, but he going to put them back in place because they hold great significance, but they point to him. If you don't know, they point to him like the so-called Jews, the Edomites. They don't know. They're going to be doing some offerings in a little while. They doing some offerings not symbolically over there in Jerusalem. But they're going to do the daily sacrifice on a regular basis. Just keep watching the news. They're going to start doing it, killing a lamb in the morning and one in the evening. That's the daily sacrifice. They're going to start that pretty soon. But see, they don't even know the significance of that hold for Jesus. They don't even call themselves believing in Jesus, right? So if you were going to do it, you need to know what it really represents. So that's why we don't do that. It ain't like it never was no good. God instituted it. Must have been good for something. Even if you don't understand, it must mean something. He said, 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Then he said what?
On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation.
On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation. But if it's the 8th day, it got to be the 8th day or something, right? You had 7 before it, right? Mm-hmm. So he taking this feast, after you concluded, he taking it to one last step to show you something brand new. That's why he said, on the 8th day shall be an holy convocation. Go ahead.
And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
See, you made a distinctly different offering on this day too. You can look that up in Numbers 29. You made a different offering. You made a set rotation. They changed each day, but it was an orderly change from day 1 to day 7. It was regulated. But when you get to the 8th day, it was totally separate. Matter of fact, it's the same offering that you made on the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. So you did something different because this has a different significance. He's showing you that. So he said, on the 8th day you have a holy convocation, and then you also made an offering unto the Lord. Go ahead.
It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein.
See, this is what we hear today. Today is the 8th day, and this is exactly what we doing. We having a solemn assembly right now. We gonna eat a little something too, because he didn't say you had to starve and fast like you do on atonement, right? He didn't say you had to do that. See, but again, if you feasted 7 days, you ain't so geeked up to eat a whole lot of stuff anyway by now. So you should be winding down. But he didn't say you couldn't eat. And if somebody, we going to have a little refreshment, but if somebody wanted to go home, since it is the feast, somebody wanted to go home and eat up, we can't say pig out because we ain't eating no pig. So I say cow out and go eat everything in your freezer and refrigerator. You wouldn't be out of line with God. But if you'd done it for 7 days, I think you'd be a little fool by now. So this is just what we doing here. We just got we're going to have a little, sandwiches like we do for the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. But now he told you, you're going to have a solemn assembly on the 8th day, just like you had on the first day to kick things off, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, you're going to have a meeting. See, you don't have to have a meeting on days 2 through 7 for this feast. You didn't have to meet as a congregation. Only thing you just was feasting. You just was feasting. But now, what verse you at? Skip down to 39.
Also in the 15th day of the 7th month.
Now he going to reiterate it. Go ahead.
When ye have gathered in the fruit of the land.
Now, because it's also not just the Feast of Tabernacles, it's the Feast of Ingathering. Because again, it's pointing, like we had lesson, so it's pointing to when the Lord gathered in his people Israel and others that believe from all over this time. It started when he brought them out of Egypt, gathered them out of Egypt and made them dwell in booths. But in the end, he going to gather us from all over and put Israel in their own tabernacle. That's what That's why it's also called in Exodus 23 the Feast of Ingathering. So he said when you gather in the fruit, see, he basing it on gathering the fruit, but God got bigger plans than you gathering in some physical fruit, brothers and sisters. He's showing he got plans for mankind. When you gather in the fruit of the land, you do what?
You shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days.
See, you keep a feast 7 days. See, this used to confuse me a little bit because he said 7 days, then all of a sudden he throw the 8th day up here. But I understand that he's just taking it to another level now. So you feast 7 days, he said. Go ahead.
On the first day shall be a Sabbath.
On the first day is a Sabbath. See, these are high Sabbath. Don't matter what day of the week it is. It's the date that matters. The first day is a Sabbath. Go ahead.
And on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
See, now he done took it to the 8th day. He said the 8th day instead of the 7th day, like the Feast of Unleavened Bread, climaxing, and that's a Sabbath. On this one, the last one of the year, no kidding, the 8th day. Why? Because when you get to the last one of the year, the only thing you got is something new after that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what he's showing you. So he took it to the 8th. After you conclude it in 7, you're going to wrap it up on that last great day. We're going to show you what it means. Let's go to, you finish that?
Verse 40.
Okay, go ahead.
And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of the goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees,
go ahead,
and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days.
See, when you get through with the 7 days, you coming down now. You winding it down. So he's talking about even when you dwell in booths. See, we can barely. We ain't even feasting 7 days because people can't get off. See what happened? Everybody went to Jerusalem. They took off work. Everybody went to Jerusalem and they had free reign to just go ahead and party for that time. Even they left their own homeland, whatever state or tribe they lived in, they had left that. Even the Lord had a scripture written said, don't worry about leaving your home because see, all of Israel was naked basically. What I mean by that, everybody had left their houses to go to Jerusalem to feast. So that means, look, you know, people be breaking in houses, right? The Lord even got a scripture in there that said, don't worry about your stuff back at home. I'm going to be watching it. I got that covered. He got a scripture to tell you that because all of them went to Jerusalem and they feasted like the Lord said. See, we barely can do that, let alone dwell in some booths. But we doing the best we can, recognizing it here and having the holy convocations like he said. He still recognized what you do. So, but this is the way it was done. He said, you cut down branches, palm trees, boughs, thick trees, willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before your God 7 days. Go ahead.
And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days.
It's unto the Lord. It ain't for the pastor. It's not a past anniversary. You know, these churches do all kind of garbage except what's in the Bible. Every time, well, this is for the first lady. Look, that mess don't mean nothing. You wasting time when you can be figuring out what the Lord got planned. So, he said you're going to keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in a year. How long should you do this?
It shall be a statute forever in your generation.
Ooh, that's a long time, is it? A statute forever to keep this feast. Go ahead.
You shall celebrate it in the 7th month.
No, and in the 7th month, because again, 7 means completion. The Lord's showing you He's going to wrap up the world in the 7th month. He's going to end it, and it's going to be, He's going to start fresh from then on. But now, let's go to 2 Chronicles 7, get an example of this. 2 Chronicles 7. 2 Chronicles 7. 2 Chronicles 7. And we're going to pick it up at verse 8. 2 Chronicles 7 and verse 8. This is when Solomon had completed the temple. It was at the same time of this feast right here, this great feast that we celebrate, which we on the last day of it. 7 and 8. Go ahead.
Also, at the same time, Solomon kept the feast 7 days.
Now we know what feast this is. It's the one we celebrating. Go ahead.
And all Israel with him.
Go ahead.
A very great congregation. From the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt. And in the 8th day, they made a solemn assembly.
So we know there's got to be tabernacle. He's going to say it later anyway. But we already know it's tabernacle because it's the only one that go to the 8th day, right? Mm-hmm. And they kept the feast 7 days. So when you finish with the 7, you wind it down. That's why he said in the 8th day, they made a solemn assembly, didn't he? But again, it's okay to eat. And it's okay to eat and cook on this day because it is still the feast. He said, and in the 8th day, they made a solemn assembly. Go ahead.
For they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days and the feast 7 days.
See, they did it. They had a couple of celebrations because he had finished the temple and the altar. Now, go ahead, verse 10.
And on the 23rd day of the 7th month, he sent the people away into their tents.
See, he sent the people away after the 8 days was over with. See, this is the 8th day for us. This is the 22nd day of the 7th month. Last Wednesday was the 15th day of the 7th month. Today is the 22nd day of the 7th month. And at sundown tonight, the Feast of Tabernacles will be over. So, and that'll be the 23rd day of this month. He said on the 23rd day of the 7th month, he sent the people away to their tents. How were they at that time?
Glad and merry in heart.
Glad and merry in heart, because they doing God's will. Go ahead.
For the goodness that the Lord has shown unto David and to Solomon and to Israel his people.
See, they was glad. They was happy. But now, let's go to Nehemiah, the 8th chapter. We're going to look at another example. But each time the Lord completed in 7, and then he said, look, I got one more thing for you to do. You got one more day to stretch this one out. Even if you barely walking, you come back for that last day, and this is when you're going to have your final holy gathering. Because he's showing you another great message. God gives you messages in even when you're having fun, it's a message in it. He told you to have fun, but you're having fun to honor him. See, people think God is against fun. God's not against fun. He's against sin. Right. And sin can be fun too. He's against that kind of fun. He is against that. But there's plenty fun you can have without sinning. And that's what we need to learn, or else you're going to pay the price. Nehemiah 8:1. Go ahead.
And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. Okay, the first day of the 7th month, that's what we celebrated. That day was 3 weeks ago, right? The memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. That's what kicked these holy days off in the 7th month. The memorial of the blowing of the trumpet, they all tie in together too. Then we had the atonement. 10 days later, then we started the Feast of Tabernacles. So they was doing the same thing. Now they came back from captivity, so they basically starting from scratch, starting over. We worse than them. We ain't even back from captivity, but we doing the best we can do here. That's how the Lord said it was going to happen too. But now, so they actually out here celebrating the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. And skip down now to verse 14. Skip down to verse 14. Go ahead. And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month. See, now, after the trumpets had went past, maybe the next day or so, they end up finding, they said, look, we supposed to be celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. That's when you dwell in the booths, right? We supposed to be celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles and dwelling in booths. And they was able to do it because now they back in the promised land now, and they controlling their situation. They controlling their whole situation. So they even gonna do it all the way. They gonna dwell. They say, look, we supposed to be doing that, dwelling in booths. Go ahead, what verse you at? Verse 17.
Verse 17? Okay, go ahead.
And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths, and sat under the booths, for since the days of Joshua the son of Nun unto that day had not the children of Israel done so. And there was very great gladness. See, this is what killed me on another note. You see how that name Joshua is spelled with an E here? That comes from the translation, because even parts of Ezra and Nehemiah was written in another language. So when it got translated, it wasn't Joshua, as we know J-O, but that's what it's really saying. That's like when it comes from Greek, it turned out Joshua and Jesus is the same name from different languages. When it comes from Greek to English or from Hebrew to Greek, it ends up Jesus. That's just how it's translated. That's why this is real close to Jesus. Ain't nobody trying to trick nobody by giving you the name of Jesus with a J. That's just the barrier in translating from tongue to tongue. So that's why this is real similar, isn't it? It said from the days of Joshua, which is really Joshua, which if you say it in Greek, it's Jesus. The son of Nun, unto that day had not the children of Israel done so, and there was very great gladness, right? Go ahead, verse 18. Also, day by day, from the first day until the last day. From the first day, see, that's what we've been doing. We had the first day last Wednesday, and from the first day to the last, since we ain't back in the land, we ain't trying to dwell in no booths or nothing, but we can at least do some of what they did. What did they do? He read in the book of the law of God. See, they read in the book of the law of God. Well, that's why we at least, even on the lesson plan that we gave out last Wednesday, we had scriptures you can at least read each day of the feast. I should get a show of hands, see who read them, but nah, probably won't too many raise their hands with it. But that's something to keep you mindful that this feast lasts 7 days. And it climaxed today on the 8th day. That's what they did also day by day. From the first day until the last, he read in the book of the law of God. And what else? And they kept the feast 7 days. See, he keeps saying they kept the feast 7 days. Because by the time you get through with that, you just wrapping it up now when you get to the end. He said they kept the feast 7 days and what? And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner. See, and they came back and they wrapped it up on the 8th day. They had a solemn assembly. But that don't mean they didn't eat nothing at all. Somebody might confuse that. Well, it looked like they just only look, the 8th day just taking you somewhere else. They still was able to eat and enjoy themselves. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to throw something else in here. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 16, just to throw this in here so people don't be confused about it. You can still eat something. That's why we're going to have some food today. Ain't nothing wrong with eating. He didn't say you couldn't eat, right? And it is a celebration, right? Even atonement is a celebration, but he told you that's recognizing some affliction so you don't eat, right? But this is a more joyous celebration, a happy celebration, and you can enjoy yourself. You can still enjoy yourself, but we at the end of it. What I say, Deuteronomy 16? See, we know the Feast of Unleavened Bread lasts how many days? It lasts 7 days, right? And but you do it you had a holy convocation on the first day, and on the 7th day you have a solemn assembly, right? But still you feast 7 days there, right? Let's see here. Deuteronomy 16, we just going to read this just to make a point. Verse 8, read verse 8. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. Oh, he said 6 days, huh? See, if you didn't know no better, you would say, well, it's only 6 days. No, we already know it's 7, right? But he's just showing it from a different perspective now. Well, 6 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, then what? And on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. See, he just separated the 7th day in this case because that's the climax, right? But we know you can still eat on it, right? We know that. You got other scriptures. Matter of fact, you read Exodus 12. He said on the first day and the 7th day, they Sabbath days, and you should do no work except that which every man may eat, right? That's why you got all these scriptures. But if you just went by this, you would say, oh, you can't do nothing on the 7th day unleavened bread, right? But we know better, don't we? We already know better. But now, let's get back to it. Go to Hosea 12. Because that's just a point to show, because you might look and say, well,
We shouldn't do nothing at all. I mean, we winding it down, but it's still the last day of the feast, right? Mm-hmm. It's still a feast. That's why I said if somebody want to go home and eat up all their refrigerator, you should be pretty full by now, but you could still do that and wouldn't be sinning against God. Hosea 12, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Hosea 12 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind.
Now we're going to get into what he's really talking about this feast and even the 8th day. He said Ephraim feedeth on wind. He's talking about how Ephraim became another name for the 10 tribes when Israel separated into 2 distinct kingdoms. You had 10 tribes in the north and 2 tribes headquartered in Jerusalem called Judah. They had separated. So he addressing the northern faction, but all of them messed up. So he addressing the 10 tribes, which were called Ephraim or Israel. They were called Israel as well. The 2 tribes just became known as Judah. So when you read Chronicles and Kings, you have a king of Judah and you have a king of Israel. Well, who were they? They were just headquartered in Ephraim. All of them Israel. The king of Judah was Israel, but they went by, the title was Judah then. So now, read it again, verse 1.
Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind.
He messed up, in other words. Go ahead.
He daily increaseth lies and desolation.
He following lies, and he doing damage to himself. And desolation. Go ahead.
And they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt.
See, God will punish you. See, when God punishing you, your best thing is to turn and find out what you're doing wrong to God and try to please him. Rectify your problem. Instead of we good for God punishing us, we're going to run and try to get some help. They can't help you. That's really what he's telling you here. You're going to make a covenant with the Syrians. I'm the one busting your head. Now I'm going to make the Syrians get you too. You just giving me somebody else to bust you upside the head. And oil is carried into Egypt. In other words, Israel trying to get some help, think they can outsmart God. Go ahead.
Verse 2. The Lord have also a controversy with Judah. And will punish Jacob according to his ways, according to his doings will he recompense him. See, he started with Ephraim, which is the 10 tribes up north. Then he said the Lord hath also a controversy with Judah. That's the southern faction. See, Israel is split by now. He said, I'm mad at all of them. Ephraim is a liar. And then they're going to try to get some help from somebody that ain't going to work. That was the 10 tribes, also called Israel. Then he said, the Lord hath also a controversy with Judah. Those are 2 tribes. All of David's sons sat on that throne. To the end. One time this crazy woman took over for a moment. But still, it said the Lord hath a controversy with Judah and will do what? Punish Jacob according to his ways.
He said, I'm going to punish Jacob. See, that's why we need to be celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles, representing the gathering of Israel from all over, because God punished Israel and sent us to the 4 winds. Scattered us all over the world. So he's going to rectify that. He's going to bring us back, and this feast stand for that. The 7 days stand for the physical gathering of Israel. The 8th day is taking you to a whole nother place. But it's still about tabernacles. It just ain't going to be a physical gathering. We talking spiritual. That's what the 8th day taking you to, because it's going to be a brand new thing. But now, he said, and he will punish Jacob according to what?
His ways. According to his doings will he recompense.
According to his dues. He said, I'm going to pay him back. God said that. Skip down to verse 9, though, because in the end, when he's still going to rectify it in the end, verse 9.
And I that am the Lord thy God from the land of Egypt.
Took you back to Egypt where he started all this at. He said, but yet and still, I that am the Lord your God from the land of Egypt. In other words, he said, yeah, I'm going to whoop you. I'm going to whoop on like he's doing now. See, it ain't no accident that this black people been scattered all over the world in bondage. That's only from God. God controls everything, right? That amazed me about people that go to church every Sunday and then go to work on Monday and cry about their situation. Look, don't God control it? Look, that means you should be recognizing he allowing whatever situation you in, right? God have to allow it. and is ordained in it. He ordained Israel to be scattered out into slavery. So now, he said, and I that am the Lord your God from the land of Egypt would do what?
Will yet make thee to dwell in tabernacles, as in the days of the solemn feast.
Oh, he said, I that am your Lord God from the land of Egypt will yet, this is future now, will yet make you to do what? Dwell in tabernacles, as in the days of the solemn feast. See, that show you the tabernacle got great significance, even for the future, right? In other words, he said, I'm going to whoop your head and I'm going to still bring you back in the end. I'm going to bring you back. That's what the 7 days represent, the end gathering of Israel. We had really 2 lessons on the first day and on the weekly Sabbath. We just had another lesson that focus on that. We just going to breeze by. Now go to Matthew 24. See, we read this every time because this is so plain that how important all of this is. It's amazing that people say they believe in Jesus don't get it. But again, I know they ain't really paying attention to the Bible. Matthew 24. But this how it's going to end. How he going to make them dwell in tabernacles as in a solemn feast? He going to gather them from bondage all over, which is where he scattered us at. Like we read in Deuteronomy on the Sabbath, Deuteronomy 28:68, he said, you're going to even go back to Egypt on slave ships, on ships. That was referring to slave ships. But he going to do an awesome thing. He going to bring Israel back just like he brought Israel out of Egypt and take them to their land. Here's Jesus talking about it. None other than Jesus is telling you about this. Matthew 24 and 29. And people waiting on a rapture. Jesus getting ready to take over the world and bring his people home. 29. Go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened.
See, there won't be no secret rapture before tribulation, but Jesus is going to come after tribulation. He's going to start his descent and come after it's over with. That's when he going to enter the scene. He going to come on the scene then. When immediately after the tribulation of those days, then it's going to hit the fan, brothers and sisters. What did he say? The sun going to do what?
Be darkened. And the moon shall not give her light.
See, he going to slap the moon and the sun and put a hurting on them because he going to roll the sky back. Go ahead.
And the stars shall fall from heaven. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
He's shaking up the world and the heavens. Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Here he come now. Go ahead.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
No, they're not happy. They mourning because they know it's on now. Go ahead.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
He coming with power and great glory. He ain't coming to take a few people and run back like he's scared. Why would he let them see him then? Anyway, right? It said they see him, right? Don't nobody never talk about that. Oh, it's going to be a rapture secret. They call it a secret rapture. Look, it will be no secret about this. Right. He said, Revelation said, every eye going to see him. God ain't shame. He run it. And he going to show you at this time. That's what he coming to do. Let's see what he going to do. 30, 31.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet.
See, there go that trumpet which started these holy days off, right? The memorial of the blowing of the trumpets is signifying how the Lord going to conquer this world. He going to have 7 angels blow 7 trumpets, like Joshua and them had 7 priests blow the trumpets in Jericho. Read Joshua, the 6th chapter or the 5th chapter, when they took over Jericho, that was a prototype of what God going to do in the end. He had 7 priests blow 7 trumpets. Revelation 8 says 7 angels going to blow 7 trumpets. This time, because he conquering the world, not just Jericho. Here's the final one when he about to do it in. He said, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. That means everybody going to hear it, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
And they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds.
And they gather together his chosen people. That's the elect. From the 4 winds. That's Israel and anybody else who believe this. See, again, God don't care who you are as long as you believe. He just started with Israel. He showed you an example in Matthew 15 when that woman came to him. She was a non-Israelite, a Canaanite woman. And she said, my daughter got a devil. Jesus was working on Israel first. And he said, look, he said point blank, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. He told her that. So in other words, he was trying not to help her. But he showed his compassion because she said, yeah, I know, but just help me. I need some help. My daughter got a devil. And Jesus said, I'm sent to only Israel. Then he turned around and went further and said, you know, it's not good for me to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Now, the average person now that don't understand God's will, they would have been mad at you. They would have said, skip you, man. Because they don't understand God's will. But you ain't going to get nothing from God like that. See, it benefits everybody to recognize what the Bible is saying, no matter what nationality, and accept it. God started with Israel, and Israel right now is scattered in slavery. So that woman recognized what Jesus' plan was, and she didn't go against it. She got in line with it. Jesus said, it ain't good for me to take the children's bread, cast it to dogs. She came back and hit him. She said, yeah, I understand, but the dogs, don't the dogs get crumbs that fall from their master's table? Jesus said, he said, I got to do it for you. You got too much faith for me. And he healed her daughter on the spot. He said, be it unto you. That show you he got compassion for everybody. He just started with Israel. That's the order of things. So that's what he's doing here. He gathering Israel and other people that believe. That's why he said from the four winds, right? Mm-hmm. Just like Isaiah 11 say the four corners of the earth. He going to gather the dispersed of Israel and Judah. But now, you finished 31?
From one end of heaven to the other.
From one end of heaven to the other. From the four winds. Now let's go to Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37. He told you exactly how this is going to go down. Because just like he told you in Jeremiah 31, he said, he that scattereth Israel will gather him. See, Israel scattered all over. Jesus just told you that from the four winds. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37. And verse 21. Ezekiel 37 and 21. See, the whole Bible talking about this. This feast is set up to show you how God going to do it in the end, and people not paying attention. That's what happens when you just listen to teaching, doctrine that don't come from the Bible. You believe a whole lot of other stuff contrary to what God is saying. 37 and 21. Go ahead.
And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. You see, it never is about going to heaven either. Heaven gonna come here. Jesus is gonna come and fix this world, and it's gonna be a glorious time. We should be hoping for that. He says, say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will do what? Take the children of Israel from among the heathen. You know what heathen means? It just means nation. It don't mean like on Fred Sanford where she called him a heathen. That means just something no good. Now, it means Israel knew God, the other nations didn't, so they did call them heathen. But that really means nations. That's what it means. And that's where Israel is among the nations. Scattered out in bondage, right? Didn't Jesus just say he's going to gather them from the four winds? I told you can read Isaiah 11, starting at around verse 11 and 12. He said, Isaiah said it the same way. He said he's going to gather them from the four corners of the earth. What's that mean? East, west, north, and south. That's what he said here. He said, I will make them, he said, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will do what? Gather them on every side.
Gather them on every side. See, wherever you at, east, west, north, or south, he said, I'm going to gather them on every side. That's going to be a miracle. This is going to be greater than what he did to Pharaoh because he's doing it to the whole world. It's going to be miraculous too. And then he's going to set Israel up for a holy nation to be a light to everybody, and everybody going to be keeping this feast and doing his will, period, after that. Because they're going to know what God really required. Because he's going to have Israel as his priest showing them. Go ahead.
22. Mm-hmm. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel.
See, he's going to make them one nation because we are split into two. We are split into two separate identities. Ephraim up north, which is also called Israel, and Judah down south, they call themselves Judah. But he said, look, I'm going to make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. Go ahead.
And one king shall be king to them all.
See, one king, because this is after the resurrection. David going to be the spiritual king. Go ahead.
And they shall be no more two nations. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all.
See, that's why you got Chronicles and Kings where it talks about the king of Judah and the king of Israel. They was divided into two. Go ahead.
Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols.
See, that's the thing. God hates them idols. And we got people doing it all the time thinking you can worship God anyway. Go ahead.
Nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them.
Go ahead.
So shall they be my people, and I will be their God.
See, this is future, brothers and sisters. That's what this feast is pointing to. That's what the 7 days, see, the 7 days point to the physical gathering. But see, we here even beyond the 7th day today, aren't we? We ain't got to that yet, really, but go ahead. We will. Go ahead.
24. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd.
One shepherd. So you, David gonna be king, and they're gonna have one shepherd. Go ahead.
They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them.
Oh, you ain't gonna do away with the law at this time. All the people that want to do away with the law are gonna be dead. Go ahead.
And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant.
They going back to that land where we got kicked out. But see, Jesus is orchestrating this. He said he coming after tribulation, and he going to send his angel with the sound of a trumpet, and they going to gather together his elect from the four winds all over. This is it here. Go ahead.
Wherein your fathers have dwelt.
They dwelling back in that land. They ain't going to heaven. Go ahead.
And they shall dwell therein. Even they and their children, and their children's children forever.
Forever? That's a long time. See, what God is doing is going to last forever. See, that's where you get the 8th day from. You're going into eternity with this. Go ahead.
And my servant David shall be their prince forever.
Forever? Go ahead.
Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore.
Forevermore. That's even beyond forever, ain't it? He really want to let you know this is lasting eternally. And what is he doing? He said he's going to set his sanctuary in the midst. See, people have been talking about going to heaven. Heaven is coming here. He said he's going to set his sanctuary in the midst. See, God's plan has always been to dwell here. In the midst of them forevermore. Notice verse 27, because you're going to get to that tabernacle yet. Go ahead.
My tabernacle also shall be with them.
Oh, my tabernacle also shall be with them. See, when the Lord gathered Israel at the second coming of Jesus, it's going to take him a few years to straighten things out, and then he's going to take Israel into the promised land and start from scratch. And it's going to be peace for 1,000 years. He's going to have a temple built, physical temple, and all that is going to go on. And it's going to be him and immortals that come up in the first resurrection overseeing the flesh and blood. Because he said you're going to sit with him on his throne if you come up in the first resurrection. So that's going to go on for 1,000 years. See, that's what the 7 days of tabernacle is representing. The completion of that 1,000 years, all the way down to that 1,000 years. But then even after that, that physical sanctuary and all that, after he straightened the earth out in Jerusalem, then he gonna bring a spiritual tabernacle down. See, this is what the 8th day is talking about. That's why he took it one more, because he gonna complete things in 7. He gonna fix. See, he gotta fix up this first before he can bring. People talk about New Jerusalem, New Jerusalem. They don't understand nothing. Look, you cannot have a New Jerusalem until Old Jerusalem get fixed. You ain't gonna have no New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem ain't going to just drop out here. Like right now, they're doing all that fighting and stuff over in Jerusalem, right? So New Jerusalem ain't getting ready to come down right now, is it? Nah, he going to show you how it's supposed to be first. He going to fix Old Jerusalem. You ain't going to have that by that time. See, New Jerusalem can't come till he straighten this mess out. Then New Jerusalem going to come. So that's why he keeps saying if once he do this, it's going to last forever. Because even after he done with flesh, which is what the 7 days represent, he gonna keep it going eternally. That's what the 8th day taking us to. So read 27 again. Go ahead.
My tabernacle also shall be with them.
Oh, his tabernacle shall be with them, right? Mm-hmm. See, it's going to start when Jesus comes. He's going to have a physical tabernacle, because we know it started off here physical, right? Gathering Israel from the countries, right? But it's going to extend into the spiritual tabernacle. So it's going to go from the 7th day to a whole new beginning, the 8th day. My tabernacle shall also be with them. Go ahead.
Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
And what the rest of the nations going to be thinking when they see they're going to have their mouth open like? Only the people that got some wisdom now, they going to know what's going on. But the people who really don't know what's happening, don't know what we saying right now, their mouth going to be open. They're going to be like, wow. Go ahead.
28. And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel. For my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
Forevermore. Now, we're going to go to Revelation 21 right quick and show you this is going to escalate. It's going to extend into eternity. That's why that's why God finally, at the last feast, he took it from the 7th day and went even to the 8th day. Because once he finished this system of doing things, he going to do a brand new thing. And he going to even have a new tabernacle. And we all going to get gathered to that tabernacle. Revelation 21 and verse 3. One verse. And we're going to come back in a minute. But 21 and verse 3. Go ahead.
And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with me.
Oh, the tabernacle of God is with me. You still ain't going up to that, is it? It's coming to be with you. The tabernacle of God. See how great this Feast of Tabernacles is? It's taking you all the way down beyond the end of the world as we know it to even New Jerusalem. A new heaven and a new earth. This is where we at here. See, Ezekiel picked it up under the old system. But he kept saying forevermore. You thought he was playing? He kept saying forevermore, forevermore. Because it's going to extend into the 8th day, like this feast, right? See, when you get to the 8th day, you back at you at a beginning. He said, I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with me, and he going to do what?
And he will dwell with them.
You're not dwelling with God. God is going to dwell with us. Go ahead.
And they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their God.
And be their God. See, even New Jerusalem, first Old Jerusalem got to be fixed, but New Jerusalem is still sitting around Israel. You read the rest of this, you find out it got 12 gates and names of the 12 tribes of Israel on the gates and all that. People want to do away with Israel. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know the God of this Bible. See, we got the sign Israel, the Church of Jesus. The average Christian walks by here and think, oh, that's a cult. They talking about Israel. You ain't read your Bible, have you? We're going to come back here. Keep your finger here. We're going to come back. Go to 2 Peter 3. We're almost done. 2 Peter 3. We're going to read one verse right quick to show you how the Lord had this thing mapped out step by step, day by day. 2 Peter 3 and verse 8. 2 Peter 3 and verse 8. Then we're going to go back to Revelation and wrap it up. Okay, go ahead.
But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing.
What's that?
That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years as one day.
See, we don't have stuff. This is not a novel, so we don't have stuff in the Bible that's just here for you to just be reading it. Everything is trying to teach you something. So Peter is letting us know. Matter of fact, he wants you to understand it because he said, Beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing. Don't be ignorant of this. He wants you to know what this is about, right? That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years. That means to us. So what we view as 1,000 years is nothing but a day to God. And 1,000 years, that means to us, is as one day. To who? God. That's what he's trying to tell you. So that means something. Think about when God said he worked 6 days and he rested on the 7th day. What does that really mean to us? That means in our time frame, because we limited, right? That's 6,000 years. And then that rest is a whole 1,000 years, because a day to God is 1,000 years. See, and that's what God has done. He did it, then he made man do the same thing. He got man imitating him. So that's why he told man to do like him, didn't he? He said, look, I want you to work 6 days and remember the Sabbath day. Just like I did it, you remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. But see, he's not just telling man to do that on a weekly basis. See, we don't come here every 7th day just for our health or just to be doing something that don't mean nothing. No, it's imitating what God is doing in the big scheme of things. See, that's why we know historically man has since Adam, it's only been about 6,000 years. We're almost at the end of all history point to it. I know they be talking about, well, you had the Neanderthal man and you had, all that stuff is stuff they concocting trying to figure something out. That's why they call that prehistoric. You know what prehistoric means, don't you? That means prior to any facts that we got. We got some real facts, but this is stuff we guessing at, prehistoric. All the historical evidence point to man only about 6,000 years ago. Even in some Bibles, they place Adam about 4,000 BC, give or take some, right? Some Bibles have it in the footnote on the side. This was about 4,000 BC. So that means if that was 4,000 years BC, and now we 2000 AD, that we about at 6,000, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what to God? That's 6 days, right? See, so when he told man to work 6 days, rest 7 days, he was also telling man, look, I'm going to give you 6,000 years. Once Adam sinned, it was etched in stone. You're going to have 6,000 years to struggle and labor until I let you enter into my rest. And when he do that, it's going to be 1,000 years of relaxation, of peace. That's what he's telling you here. So it must mean something. Read it again, verse 8.
But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years.
1 day is 1,000 years. Go ahead.
And 1,000 years is 1 day.
And 1,000 years is 1 day. Now go to Revelation again, Revelation 20. Revelation 20 this time. And we're going to see something about this 1 day to the Lord, which is 1,000 years. See, God living on another time level. He live in eternity. So that's what he's trying to show you. That's why he can be patient, because it ain't nothing to him. You might be praying to God and hoping for an answer. He might plan to do it. It might take 10 years, but that wasn't nothing but, that wasn't close to a day with him, was it? If 1,000 years is a day, that was just an hour or two, right? 10 years. He'd be like, he'd been told the angel, in about an hour, go down there and help him. It's 10 years for you. You be like, oh, I'm struggling. Revelation 20, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand.
See, once Jesus come back, 19th chapter show Jesus coming back, fighting the kings of this world and taking over. And as soon as he do that, put them in their place right quick, he going to deal with the spiritual problem. He going to send his angel to tame this other angel. So he got the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. What he going to do with it? Verse 2.
And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan.
So who was that in the garden? That's the serpent that talked to Adam and Eve. It was not a real snake, was it? It was Satan. That dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan. And what did he do to Satan?
Bound him 1,000 years.
Oh, he had that chain for a reason. He bound him for how long? 1,000 years. No coincidence, is it? What is 1,000 years to the Lord? 1 day, right? See, God got everything timetable. 6,000 years for man to struggle. Then he going to have 1,000 years of peace. So to have 1,000 years of nothing but peace to honor the Sabbath day, he have to get rid of Satan, don't he? And he not putting Satan in a lake of fire. Pay attention to that. He only bound him. That means he going to come back afterwards. Because we, again, once the 6,000, which the 6,000 years are almost up. Then we're going to have 1,000 years of peace. That's going to be 7,000 years, right? or 7 days, right? To God. Then you enter into the 8th day. So it got to be some more time even beyond this 1,000 years. But he bound in Satan for 1 day, 1,000 years. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
Boy, and he done a good job, because the nations are deceived, aren't they? That's why don't nobody know what we talking about. We reading out of their Bible. I ain't supposed to be reading the Bible. I was hanging out doing all kind of crazy stuff. Wasn't thinking about no Bible. But now these preachers that had the Bible all this time, but they ain't telling nobody none of this, because Satan had deceived the whole world. And we going by some cliches and fairy tales instead of what's in here. We deceived. But that's why he going to lock Satan up for this 1,000 years. Everybody going to know God during this time. This is going to be a glorious time. That's why the Sabbath day is so important. Shut him up. He should set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till when?
1,000 years should be fulfilled.
See, why just 1,000 years? Because that's a day, right? This is the Sabbath day for man. Man is going to get some rest, some well-needed rest. Because the world is wicked and crazy right now, isn't it? You can't get no rest right now. You try to get some rest at night and get woke up. Something crazy happening. But at this time, it's going to be nothing but peace on earth. Because he's going to be locked up, out of commission. Deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years, 1 day, should be fulfilled. And then what?
And after that, he must be loosed a little seed.
See, he's going to be let go again. God ain't done. But he got to fulfill this Sabbath day. Go ahead.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them. And judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus.
See, this is getting ready to go on in our time. So more people got to be beheaded, like John the Baptist got beheaded. See, people don't like the truth. The world don't like the truth. The more people start listening to what we saying, it's going to bring some hard times on the people that believe the truth. That's what great tribulation is for. Because they're not going to take it laying down. You killing all the lies they've been telling for thousands of years, right? They're not going to take it lying down. They never have. John the Baptist got on their nerve enough till they chopped his head off, right? So, but that's okay. God make his people able to deal with it because you looking at a reward beyond anything imaginable. So, and that's when you're going to get it right here. He said, I saw thrones and the people sitting on them and judgment. They're going to judge with Jesus. Hey, that's worth a head chopping off. If you're going to be ruling with Jesus, he said judgment was given unto them. What else he see? I saw the soul. Read that again.
Said I saw the thrones and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them.
See, they judging. Go ahead.
And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus.
Whoever told somebody, preacher don't never tell nobody this might happen to you. Just by chance, this could happen to you. I told you the organ player be messed up. He reads something like this. Because this don't go down smooth. You can't swallow this down real smooth with that nice music. He said, I saw the souls of them that were beheaded. I wish they tell their neighbor that. Neighbor, you might get beheaded. And see if they praise the Lord then. I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of, you mean for really truly witnessing about Jesus, not the fake Jesus. And for what else?
And for the word of God.
Nobody never told nobody that. Go ahead.
And which had not worshipped the beast.
See, they're not going to go for it because the Antichrist is going to try to force his will because he see too many people getting away from it. That's what the Inquisition was about. The Catholic Church got it written that, hey, yeah, we did the Inquisition because too many good Catholics was leaving. They didn't want to be Catholics no more. So we wasn't really trying to be mean, but we wanted to make them come back home. That's what's going to be happening in our days because people getting tired of this foolishness out here, which all them came from Rome. So anyway, he said they didn't worship the beast, neither his image. Go ahead.
Neither have received his mark upon their forehead.
See, it was a price to pay, though. They didn't go along. But some of them right here lost their head, didn't they? Go ahead.
Or in their hands.
They didn't take the mark. Go ahead.
And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
Oh, but now they live and reign with Christ for 1 day to God, right? Sabbath day of rest. 1,000 years, exactly. That's why Peter, it meant something when he said 1,000 years to us is the day to God, right? Verse 5.
But the rest of the dead live not again until 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
See, the first resurrection happened when Jesus come. Right then, when that trumpet sound, the righteous dead gonna come up. Those that's really righteous. The second resurrection gonna have some halfway righteous people that might make it in. That's gonna make it in according to their works. And the wicked gonna come up. But the first resurrection, uncut righteous. Those are the ones going to rule with him. That's why he said this is the first resurrection. Verse 6, he's going to tell you about it.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection.
Oh, you blessed and holy if you got part in this one. Go ahead.
On such, the second death have no power.
You ain't got to worry about going to hell fire because you're going to be made God right here. That's why you ain't got to fear death. Go ahead.
But they shall be priests of God and of Christ and shall reign with him 1,000 years.
See, why he's spelling out the 1,000 years? Because he got to complete the 7,000 years. See, it ain't like they ain't going to be with him after the 1,000 years. He said, okay, 1,000 years up, see y'all later. Going back to wherever y'all was. That ain't going to happen, is it? But he's showing you the completion of it. 1,000 years. That's going to complete the 7,000 years. That's what the 7 days of tabernacles is pointing to, the completion of it. But then it ain't over with. Go ahead.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are...
Pick it up at verse 7.
And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Oh, nah. See, Satan, the Lord wasn't done with... See, the 1,000 years was fixed, wasn't it? He had to fulfill that. He wasn't even done with Satan, but he took him out of action, didn't he? Right. Put him on disability for 1,000 years. Say, look, you can't do nothing else, because I got to have my time now. This is what I've been talking about. So he brought nothing but peace for that 1,000 years. But then, when that 7th day is over with, we got an 8th day, don't we? That's what this last feast, the last great day of the feast is taking us to. So it's over with. He said when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And this ain't going to last too long, but go ahead. Let's see what he's going to do. See, this lets you know it's still man, flesh and blood on this earth. Because Satan going to get a shot at them now. 1,000 years of good teaching, good word of God, keeping the Lord's feast, peace on earth, goodwill toward men. And then they're going to let Satan mess him up again. They show you, boy, man is corruptible. He going to put something in their mind. They're going to be like, no, we can't go against that. You know, that guy came and whooped him down in Armageddon about 1,000 years ago. He going to say, oh, man, they're going to be talking about that. Maybe that was an asteroid. And we just don't know. Maybe that was a comet that just hit the earth. You know, well, why we listening to them people over there? They ain't got no army. They're going to be listening to Israel in Jerusalem. They're going to be listening to them going up there worshiping, but they ain't going to see no army. So they're going to fool, Satan going to fool them and be like, maybe we can take them people. We still got a few of them arms left. Let's go over there. We ain't need to be, let's see Satan going to mess them up. After 1,000 years of goodness. Go ahead. He said when 1,000 years are expired. Notice everything centered. It climaxed with this 1,000 years, though, don't it? Mm-hmm. One day, which is the 7th day, Satan gonna be loose, and what he gonna do, verse 8? And
shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth.
Still got nations now. After 1,000 years of peace, the first resurrection is over with. These people been ruling with Christ, help Christ straighten this wicked world out. Now Satan gonna trick these people in the east, because they far away, he can get them. Go ahead.
Gog and Magog, gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
See, now they're going to come and try to mess with God's people, not knowing they don't need no army, they don't need none of your weapons, they got immortals standing behind them. You don't see them. You got Jesus and everybody that came up in the first resurrection, not to mention an innumerable company of angels. So they don't need no army, they ain't got to show no strength. They got all the power. So they're going to be food, and they're going to do what?
And they went up on the breadth of the earth.
And did what?
And compassed the camp of the saints about.
Oh, the camp of the saints on earth, ain't it? You ain't went to heaven yet. See, the Lord had his tabernacle fixed up over there. In other words, he had fixed up old Jerusalem. This Jerusalem is here now. He going to fix it up. It's going to be nothing but peace for 1,000 years. And then these crazy people going to come and try to mess with some people over there. He said they're going to compass. The Lord going to be looking at them doing it. Yeah, here they come. Everybody said, no, he told you 1,000 years in advance right here, right? Here they come. They're going to compass what? The camp of the saints about, and what else?
And the beloved city.
The beloved city is what? Jerusalem. Go ahead.
And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured.
See, the Father going to send fire down, and he ain't even going to be bothered with this. He said, these people got tricked again. Now what? Now it's over with. Now we're about to enter into the 8th day finally. We're about to enter into eternity with this goodness. Because this ain't going to spoil nothing right here. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are. They shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
See, now the devil finally going to the lake of fire 1,000 years, over 1,000 years later than the Pope and his boy. Because, see, they get it at the second coming of Jesus. It probably don't be this one. He getting kind of old, but whoever running it for the West as the religious leader and the military man, they going to get it head first when Jesus comes. It tell you that in Revelation 19, the beast and the false prophet. The beast is the emperor type man, the military that's over the army, that's going to be wreaking havoc on the world, making people worship this image, making people sin against God, blaspheme God. But those that got some knowledge like us, we're going to say, hey, do what you got to do, man. Well, if you don't bow down and do it, we're going to cut your head off. What you waiting on? Get it over with. So, but a lot of people going to fall for it. That's why the Lord putting them straight in the lake of fire, because they're going to have a lot of people induce them to go to hell, threatening them. But the Lord warned you already, said, whatever you do, don't take that mark. So now, it said, the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. Notice, where what?
Well, the beast and the false prophet are.
See, they already there. They beat him by 1,000 years, those two men. That's Revelation 19, toward the end, around verse 19. Where the beast, notice the beast and the false prophet still in the fire. People say, oh, God wouldn't burn you forever. Think again. They've been burning pretty good 1,000 years right here, right? They've been burning. And they ain't burnt up yet. It didn't say where the beast and the false prophet used to be, did it? It didn't say where they was, but you know they burned up and they ashes now. People don't know God. God don't play. He gonna burn. He gonna let you suffer for eternity. I don't want no part of that. You see, it had to be something like that to make me change, because I was pure wicked. But I started looking at this. I said, whoa, I don't want no parts of that. He said, where the beast and the false prophet, they still there, where they are, right? And now with Satan just joining them. Go ahead.
It shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
Now, you know it's really a long time when you put two evers on it, don't you? It's going to be tormented day and night forever, and just in case you missed it, ever. That's a long time. But now, we still got to keep going. We ain't done. He's going to have judgment day. We're going to skip over that right now. That's when all the dead coming back. 21:1. Revelation 21:1. See, all this that took place. But now you didn't have the 1,000-year millennium or 1,000 years of peace and rest on this earth where it's going to be goodness. People going to be living hundreds of years because you ain't going to be sinning like you're sinning now. It's going to be all good. Then Satan going to wreak that little havoc. God going to deal with that. Judgment day. But now you enter into eternity with the 8th day. This is what the 8th day taking you to. The 8th day of tabernacles. You still, he done gathered Israel home to complete it in 7 days, right? Then he going to gather us to the big tabernacle. Because he fixed Jerusalem. That's why Satan took the army around the camp of the saints, right? But now, here go the spiritual side. Go ahead.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. And there was no more sea.
And what did he see?
And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven. Prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
See, now New Jerusalem coming down. And it's prepared, right? But notice, New Jerusalem couldn't come down till after 1,000 years of goodness under Old Jerusalem, right? That Satan tried to mess it up. He didn't even let him mess that up. That was nothing but a blip on the thing. Satan didn't even mess that up. He fooled them people right quick. God said, okay, I done seen enough. He took them out. Then you go into judgment, right? Now, after judgment, everybody that's going to make it is going to get into the real tabernacle. There ain't going to be no more flesh and blood as far as we're concerned. So he said he saw the holy city, New Jerusalem. Did you read that? He said he saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down. You still ain't went up yet. People talking about going to heaven. We thought we was going to heaven all our life till we got some understanding. It's all coming down from God out of heaven. It's prepared too. Jesus said go to prepare a place, right? But that place got to come after he come 1,000 years later. Notice verse 3.
And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men.
See, now you got the real tabernacle. This is what the 8th day taking you to. Go ahead.
And he will dwell with them.
See, God gonna dwell. Even the Father found. See, the Father didn't come down during 1,000 years. He stayed up there because he don't want to deal with nothing unclean. He ain't dealing with no flesh at all. See, it's gonna be all immortal by the time you get here. Go ahead.
And they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them.
He gonna be with them. Go ahead.
And be their God.
What else God gonna do?
And God shall wipe away all tears
from
their eyes.
That's a good place to be, isn't it? He gonna wipe away all tears. No more crying. Go ahead.
And there shall be no more death.
See, no more death. It'll be some death during 1,000 years. It'll be rare. It'll be a lot less than it is now, but it still will be some death because it ain't. You still got flesh. But at this time, he said there will be no more death. Go ahead.
Neither sorrow.
Neither sorrow.
Nor crying.
Nor crying.
Neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away.
That's a good time, isn't it? That's what this day is taking us to. That's why he called it the last great day of the feast. The last great day of the feast taking you around the horn to a brand new place. Go ahead.
And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new.
I make all things new. Go ahead.
And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful.
See, he completed things in 7, then he make all things new on the 8th day. Go ahead.
And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
That's none other than Jesus talking. Go ahead.
And I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life free.
Didn't Jesus say on this last great day of the feast, at John 7:37, he that is thirst, let him come, right? He said that on this feast. Well, we're reading it again. He will give to him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life. Go ahead.
He that overcometh shall inherit all things.
See, once you get the word, you got to stick with it till you overcome. Because we got temptation want to take us back to where we used to be at. But you got to overcome so you can get this. He ain't just giving to any and everybody. He that overcometh shall inherit. What if you don't overcome? You ain't going to get it, are you? He that overcometh shall inherit all things. And what he going to do?
And I will be his God, and he shall be my son.
He got to mention the other people just in case. But what?
But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers.
Murderers. People that don't want to keep his law. What else?
And whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars.
See, he don't like none of that, do he? Go ahead.
Shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
See, it's always two sides of the coin with God, ain't it? Go ahead.
And there came unto me one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues.
That's a lot of 7s, right? Because 7 completed for God, don't he? All the time. That's why he said you're going to feast for 7 days and then on the 8th day. Feast for 7 days and then on the 8th day. Because he's going to complete this thing in 7 and then he's going to take you to a brand new place. So that's why 7 completes it all the time. Got 7 angels, says 7 vials of the 7 last plagues. And he talked with me saying, showing you now what's happening on the 8th day. Go ahead.
And talk with me, saying, Come hither. I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife.
The bride, the Lamb's wife. This is New Jerusalem. Go ahead.
And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem.
The holy Jerusalem. Go ahead.
Descending out of heaven from God.
It keep coming down. You ain't going up. I hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.